News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver.
And a big welcome to all of our new listeners on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show. Colorado's human trafficking has not improved since 2023, when it tracked its highest ever year for statewide human trafficking cases. According to national and state data, Colorado remains at peak levels of the crime category and may exceed them in 2025 as new data becomes available. Joining us is the author of this report at the Common Sense Institute, Mitch Morrissey, the Owens Early Criminal Justice Fellow. Good morning, Mitch. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, let's dive into this report. It doesn't look like good news. Give us the details, please.
It's not good news. There was a bit of there was some good news in 2024, which we mentioned. Even though we continue to be really high, there was a reduction, but it looks like 2025 is going to go back to the 2023 level, where that was a record level. It puts Colorado in the top 10 of all states in the United States. I think per capita, we're probably at about 15. That's what the report indicates. It's still, Colorado needs to do something about this situation because when you talk about human trafficking, you're talking about, our study shows, primarily minors, kids that are the people that are being trafficked. And it's just tragic. I mean, these are young people whose lives are impacted for the rest of their lives. And they're not in this voluntarily. This isn't something that's consensual. This is something that they're sometimes kidnapped, for instance, off the streets of some Latin American country, brought to the United States, and sit in a room waiting for adults to come in and have unconsensual sex with them. And that's what they do all day long until some law enforcement agency comes in and frees them on some kind of a warrant and hopefully arrests. And that's the way these things go down. In 2012, we started Denver's Anti-Trafficking Alliance when I was district attorney. It was a multidisciplinary group of about 40 agencies to fight human trafficking. And we primarily had to start educating and start talking about it, start getting different groups together that could help with somebody. But I met an awful lot of these juveniles that they were sometimes adults by the time I met them, and heard their stories about how they were trafficked. And there's a lot of crime out there that has impact on victims, but this one has lifetime impact, both physically and emotionally, on these young people.
It's Mitch Morrissey with the Common Sense Institute. New report out about human trafficking taking place in Colorado, and you mentioned the kind of minor prostitution side of that. Is all human trafficking prostitution? Are there other components of human trafficking?
There are. People get trafficked to work in people's homes. For a while, we had one in Colorado where a bunch of individuals were brought into the United States to work up as sheep herders, and then they just got abandoned. And Nancy Lewis and Kova took care of those guys and got them back. So there are different types of human trafficking, but in Colorado, our study looked at the majority, almost 80% of human trafficking in the state of Colorado is sex trafficking, and then the majority of those people being trafficked are minors.
It's heartbreaking to hear. What do you think is attributing to this factor? What is driving this in our state?
Well, we were down at the legislature yesterday, and Senator Roberts and Senator Pelton have a bill to make a mandatory sentence for the consumers of this, for the people that are buying kids, trafficked kids, for the people that are targeting them on the internet to meet up with them and to have sexual relationships with that. These are the people that are concerned. This supply-demand situation. We have pretty good laws when it comes to the traffickers, and that alliance that I told you about, we won awards for the time that some of these pimps, some of the traffickers were getting. And these are complex prosecutions. They're rings that come into Colorado. But this bill, I think, is interesting because it's like, you're going to buy this stuff. You want to demand, this is what you like, this is what you do. Then you're looking at going to prison for it. And I was down there neutrally because, we're just talking about our report. I couldn't take a side, which is pretty hard for me, being that I was in law enforcement as long as I was. But I thought that this bill is really important. I think that, we get the word out how serious this is. They up the level from a class 4 felony to a class 3 felony in this bill. Think about it. Stealing a car is a class 4 felony. Breaking into a building to steal tools, that's a class 4 felony. And so is purchasing or being part of this trafficking as a consumer. And I think that it's just not right based on what you did. Yesterday, I heard young women testify that they'd been trafficked and the impact that it had on them, and the fact that maybe the person that trafficked them got prison time, but none of the people that were actually, taking advantage of this were ever held accountable. So I think that's an important bill. That's why we were down there. This report's important to remind people that we need to continue to work on this issue to try to get this out of the state of Colorado.
That's Mitch Morrissey with the Common Sense Institute new report out on human trafficking. Go to commonsenseinstituteus.org, commonsenseinstituteus.org to download. I'm intrigued by the county breakdown. You guys do a really good job of diving into everything from the age range to even the total crimes reported by county from 2018 to 2025, and then give us a breakdown on what happened last year. What's happening in Adams County? I mean, when you look at the amount of trafficking crimes there versus maybe counties that have bigger populations like Denver County, I mean, it's nearly 3 times as many in Adams County. What's happening there?
Yeah, our one graph shows that from 2008 2025, Adams County has 211, where you have Denver that has 136 and El Paso County that has 150. And, I look at that, and yesterday, the district attorney for Adams County, Brian Mason, testified in favor of the bill I was talking about, and he mentioned this. He said, in my jurisdiction, the majority of these are happening. Now, that may be one of two things. There's just a lot of that going on out there, or their law enforcement agencies are actually doing things to capture these, and to get into these rings and making arrests on these rings and that kind of thing. That would increase the numbers. So it makes it look bad for Adams County because there's a lot of incidents. But how do you know about these incidents unless they're being reported, they're being investigated, hopefully prosecuted, and these individuals are being getting what they deserve. So I look at this 2 different ways. It's like, yeah, Adams County looks like it has a big problem, but Adams County may actually be investigating these cases better. They may be actually capturing these guys, and that would increase their numbers. You look at Denver, for instance. Well, maybe they don't have, this is not something that, they're really working hard on, or Arapahoe County, which, you would think would be on par with Adams County. They share Aurora, that kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't know, and I can get a chance to talk to Brian about it. But, he may have a team that's out there just, doing the internet, scanning that, looking for individuals that are trying to lure children into this kind of thing. So, I kind of take those. I need to look at that a little bit more to really, what does that graph mean? Things bad out there, or are they doing a good job out there capturing these guys?
That's Mitch Morrissey, Common Sense Institute. We're talking his latest human trafficking report. Mitch, how much does illegal immigration overlap with human trafficking and generate these human trafficking problems?
You know, it's so hard to give you these answers, especially in Colorado. And one of the reasons is that lack of communication and cooperation between the locals and between, the feds. Obviously, you listen to the federal immigration individuals, and they're saying that there were tens of thousands, millions of kids that came in here and they just disappeared, and they found a lot of them. And you hear all of that. How much of that is rhetoric? I don't know. But the individuals that I've talked to, two of them were kidnapped off the streets of their towns in other countries, brought into the United States, and trafficked. One of them was a 14-year-old boy, and he was brought in and trafficked. And the reason they grabbed him off the streets of his hometown was that he had blue eyes down in Latin America. And they thought he was unique looking, brought him up to San Diego, where he had to then spend 12 hours a day being trafficked to adults or for sex. And so, it does have an impact. I know an awful lot of kids do come into the United States and do end up being victims of sex trafficking. But I also know that in Colorado, we would see it with kids that were runaways from, say, Kansas or Nebraska. They'd come to Denver. A lot of them thought they could work in the legal marijuana business, and they were too young. And they'd go over to the shelter that they have for teens, and within hours, they would be solicited to start engaging in this behavior and then being trapped in a human trafficking ring. So, they focus on kids everywhere to do this.
Now, that voice is Mitch Morrissey. He's a fellow at the Common Sense Institute, showing us the new report they have out about human trafficking here in Colorado, and it is not good. We're talking about climbing back up the rankings after a drop last year. Mitch was saying that we can reach levels, which was a record back in 2023. Currently, we rank around number 15. We could break into the top 10. That is not a top 10 list we want to be involved in. And I believe, Mitch, that most of the people listening to the Jeff and Bill show right now say that, yeah, this is horrible. This is absolutely awful. They would 110% be behind any sort of increase in law enforcement or any sort of other actions in order to stop this from happening. But I want to bring this down into more of a granular level. What sort of advice can you offer to our listeners as far as how they might be able to help? How can they be the eyes and the ears of the people looking out there trying to stop the human trafficking? What advice can you give our listeners to help try and stop this problem?
Well, the first thing I would do, if your listeners are parents of kids, young teenage kids, that group that is the target in the state of Colorado, primarily the ones that they are looking for to get involved in this. Make sure that, monitor what they're doing on their computers, monitoring where they're going on the internet, that type of thing. If they're going into chat rooms where they're being solicited, that type of thing. There are detectives, the entire career is going on the internet, saying they're a 13-year-old, and boom. I mean, I've seen it in live trainings where they go on and say, okay, I'm so-and-so, and within minutes, there are people soliciting them to meet up with them, to have sex with them, that type of thing. So, you need to pay attention to what your kids are doing. Put your own computer, your own phone down, and pay attention to your kids. Talk to your kids about this. The last thing, yesterday I heard from a girl that got trapped in this lifestyle, and then her mother testified in support of her. It was the first time she ever talked about it. And her mother was saying, I'm here to support her and all of that. And, I don't want to in any way criticize her, but, be preventive on this thing. pay attention to your kids, pay attention to what they're doing. Who is soliciting them, who is doing that. And I think that would go a long way to reducing the number of these incidents and getting Colorado out of that top 10 ranking that looks like we're going to go back into this year.
Mitch Morrissey, Common Sense Institute. This is an incredibly difficult report to see, but it's important because you're shining light on something that's happening in our communities. It has to be addressed, and you folks at the Common Sense Institute are doing critical work to elevate this issue so we can address it. Go to commonsenseinstituteus.org, commonsenseinstituteus.org. Check out the great work they're doing. Mitch, thank you for this research.
Yes,
thank you for giving us practical tips on how to address this in our communities, making sure we're paying attention, particularly to what our kids are consuming online. And thank you for taking time to join us this morning.
Can I say one more thing? My co-author on this, DJ Summers, does an incredible job in a lot of these reports that we produce, and we couldn't do this without him. He is so valuable to the Common Sense Institute. Great guy, was down at the legislature with me for hours yesterday, and I just want to acknowledge him and the great work that he does at the Common Sense Institute.
That's exactly right. DJ Summers, Director of Communications and Research Operations. I mean, it's almost hard to keep up with the amount of research you guys are putting out on a regular basis. It's so good, and it's just rooted in facts. With all the news out there and things kind of being skewed one way or the other, you guys just deliver facts and basic policy recommendations to improve our communities. That's why everybody, right, left, and center, trusts the Common Sense Institute of Colorado. CommonSenseInstituteUS.org, CommonSenseInstituteUS.org. Thanks again, Mitch. Give my best to DJ as well.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's talk advanced hair restoration, guys. If you're losing your hair and desire to have it back, then Advanced Hair Restoration has the easiest guaranteed solution. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results. I've seen it with my own eyes. Guys, it's not magic, but close to it. They put hair where you need it the most, and bam! It grows. It's actually science. Advanced Hair has it all. Top-rated Dr. Tanya Paul's modern technology. And best of all, you get your own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day. Advanced Hair even guarantees it will grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now at 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver and has changed the lives of tens of thousands of people. So don't wait. Check out the before and afters online for yourself, 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com, 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Coming up, you know the name and you know the voice. Mike Boyle's going to join us. We're going to talk about how our show, now broadcasting down in Colorado Springs, mirrors a show he has that broadcasts both up here and in Colorado Springs. You're not going to want to miss the conversation, particularly tips on some of the best restaurants you can be visiting, especially with Valentine's Day coming up.
Since he's the restaurant guy, isn't it like mandatory supposed to bring food every time he comes in? I'm just saying, no snacks or nothing. I'm teasing him. I love Mike, and I'm just hassling him because of my friend.
Mike Boyle will be joining us live in studio. Mike Boyle and the Restaurant Show up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS here in Denver.
And now on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs. All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show. Now with more Mike Boyle.
Welcome back to News Talk 710 KNUS.
And now waking up with our listeners at AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show, and it's been a fun week as the show's been progressing and spreading down into Colorado Springs. I did a number of interviews down in the Springs on The Answer, and one of those that we do this co-broadcast is with Mike Boyle, the Mike Boyle Restaurant Show, MikeBoyle.com. He's on Saturdays, 3 to 5 up here on 710 KNUS, Sundays 10 to noon, and then down in Colorado Springs on The Answer 1460 at Saturdays 10 to 1 and Sundays 10 to noon. So you're all over these stations, Mike.
Well, on Saturday, first of all, thanks for having me. And you know what, by the way, I want it on the record. Do you know how long I've been telling Salem Corporate and Camarillo that we need the Jeff and Bill Show in Colorado Springs? And they finally listened to me.
They did it. And let's keep going.
Thank you.
Let's keep going.
Success has many fathers, failures an orphan. I might as well get a little credit for it, right? So 10 to 1 on Saturday, I'll do a show on 1460 and FM 101.1, and it's more Colorado Springs centric, let's call it. And then 3 to 5 Saturday afternoon last weekend, we were at the IHOP restaurant in Lakewood, and we did one of our Boyle meal deals, and it absolutely rocked. And then on Sunday, 10 to noon, we'll do a simulcast all up and down the Front Range that kind of covers more, let's call it a general level of topic, something like that.
Well, and when people listen to you or get to be a part of your events, you cover the food, you cover the restaurants, you provide special deals.
Yeah, I do. And before you guys put me on the spot and say, okay, big shot restaurant guy, come up with a place. I got a call yesterday from a dear friend of mine, and he says, I'm in a little trouble. I haven't made a reservation for Valentine's Day. I'm getting a little pressure from the wife. She wants to know where we're going. He says, I'd like to go Saturday at 5 o'clock. Oh, no problem. America wants to go Saturday at 5 o'clock on a Valentine's Day. So, folks, whether you're listening to us in Denver or Colorado Springs, you're on your own right now.
Well, I've got a tip for you. Yeah. Black Eyed Pea of Colorado.
That's a great one because they don't take reservations. That's a great suggestion. Yes.
Locally owned and operated by Stephen Michelle. My whole family loves this restaurant. I know yours will as well. They've got 9 locations. There's sure to be one near you. They recently opened in Fort Collins. Have you been up there to visit that one yet?
I have, and I was about to ask you. It is beautiful.
It looks they have a great Instagram account.
What they did was they completed. Do you want to do the spot, or you want me to help you here?
No, go for it.
Well, what they did was it's an old Outback, and whether it's an old Pizza Hut or an old Outback, when you pull up, you'll recognize. You'll say, I don't remember what it was, but I remember it was something. So the outside, they've done a beautiful job of painting and cleaning it up. But inside, they put in granite countertops on the bar. They took out that old wood Outback bar. They put in more televisions. They've got beautiful booths. And the food is the same wonderful food that you'll get at all other 8 Black Eyed Peas. But that Fort Collins store, if you've got kids going to CSU or you go up there to visit or you're going to check out the campus, maybe as spring comes and you want to go to Horsetooth, do a little boating, I'd say stop. It's right on Harmony, Jeff, and it is beautiful.
Why do you think they're doing so well?
I think because, for 15 years at my place, I serve steak, seafood, prime rib chicken. And even though I sold in 95, if I opened up today, I'd serve steak, seafood, prime rib chicken because that's what America eats. Now, you might need a gluten-free roll and you might need a low-cal dressing. But the point is, Black Eyed Pea serves the food that America eats, the food that we all grew up on.
There you go. What a read. Slow-cooked pot roasted meatloaf, chicken fried steak and chicken tenderloins, grilled salmon and grilled or fried shrimp, roasted turkey breast and glazed ham, everything you just said. They got daily specials, senior discounts. I'm telling you, I love everything about this restaurant. It's one that all 3 generations enjoy, my parents, and the kids.
Jeff, they make their soups daily.
Nice.
And their soups are exceptional. And you can judge a lot about a restaurant by, we can joke in the business and call it cream of icebox soup. Well, you open up the refrigerator and you say, we got some of this, and you make that soup, a cream of broccoli or whatever. But Black Eyed Pea take soups to another level. They do a great job with soups.
Got to go to blackeyedpeacolorado.com, blackeyedpeacolorado.com. So when people tune in, they're going to get insight on some of the latest, hottest restaurants coming up, some of the best ones out there to take folks to. And then you do these events. You talked about IHOP, but you do these down in Colorado Springs as well, where you bring people to the restaurants.
Yeah, I started out doing what they're called Boyle lunch bunches. My name is Mike Boyle. I invite you to lunch, and we have a bunch of people because we get you a great meal and a great deal. And I go to restaurants because I believe that most restaurants, some corporate restaurants are the exception. But most restaurants, they don't have the money to be on the 10 o'clock TV news. They don't have the money to have a billboard on I-25. So what we do is I go to a restaurant and I say, you know what, if you'll give my listeners a great deal, I'll promote it online in my newsletter, my website. I'll ramp it up. I'll do interviews. As we get closer, we'll tell you this week, and then we're going to bring you people, and you'll promote by getting your food in their mouths. And we'll cover the food cost. We'll make sure that the price is appealing. Generally, we do half price or BOGOs. And so, yeah, I've done over 3,000 of them in Denver and Colorado Springs since I went on the air 30 plus years ago.
3,000. I'm looking at the upcoming events here. It's every weekend, it looks like. February 21st, chicken salad, better than Mom's.
Yeah, Chicken Salad Chick, they do a great job. There's a couple stores over in Littleton, but there's 3 stores in Colorado Springs. Weekend after that, we have Dickey's. And by the way, folks, let me give you a warning, a little heads up. I have invited Jeff and his lovely wife and 3 children to join us at that event. And a little later down the line, we'll get Bill Thorpe to join us. And maybe we might even figure out a way to do the morning show in Colorado Springs.
That would be
that'd be so
fun.
much fun.
When we go out, it's a little different than your events. We end up with on the news. Do you remember that?
Oh,
Yes, I do. We tried to be a little less controversial.
It wasn't my
on the
fault. I
restaurant show.
didn't do it. It wasn't
It
my
had nothing to do with you. It had to do with, the
I know.
internal battles of the Republican Party played themselves out.
We just got to outline that for the folks in Colorado Springs, because as soon as they heard, and we made the news, they're like, what did Bill do now?
Bill, I've got some bad news for you. We do not have any political litmus test on the Mike Boyle Restaurant Show.
I love that. I love that. As long as the food is delicious. And also, Jeff, just between you and me, Mike has figured this damn radio thing out, because dude goes to restaurants and then eats. And of course, throughout the entire week, you have to go out there and do research. You couldn't be a real restaurant guy if you didn't go out there and you visited all the new places and then places that, you got that one place that makes that best Reuben sandwich. Well, you got to go back at least every week or so to make sure they're still doing it right, to do the research. I think he's figured this thing out.
Bill, you bring up an interesting point, because a lot of times restaurants will say they get a little bit of an ancillary benefit. People that will come in on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they heard the spot, or they'll come in Monday, Tuesday after, because they say, we don't want to be here for the mob, but that helps get the word out. And of course, people go and enjoy the restaurant at retail. So there's just a lot of benefits that come from this.
That's Mike Boyle, his website, mikeboyle.com, Mike, BOYLE.com. He's on both 710 KNUS and AM 1460 FM 101, The Answer, just like us. And when we come back, I'm going to ask him about some of the challenges that restaurants are facing in Colorado. You see the headlines in Denver, this restaurant closing, that restaurant closing. It seems to be a problem. How do restaurants address that? What can change in our state? In the meantime, folks, let's talk game day men's health, Billy. You and I both have become customers here. I want to talk to the guys out there. Look, as we get older, things change. I've noticed this hitting my 40s. It's like I got a whole different body I'm trying to figure out right now. Speaking of food, Mike and I, we were talking. I can't do the fast food anymore. I mean, it's like crazy. Even a little bit of it. Is a problem. I don't know what happens when you turn to your 40s. Do you still eat fast food?
Jeff, I've got T-shirts older than you. I mean, it gets worse, buddy.
Yeah. Do you still eat fast food, though? Can you still handle it?
I do, but I moderate it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what you're going to find is that you'll make adjustments. Let me give you another example. It's not fast food, but remember that 22-ounce bone-in ribeye that you used to love?
Yeah.
Well, now it might be a 12-ounce New York, and pretty soon it's going to be a 6-ounce ladies' cut filet.
That makes sense. So with things changing, guys, maybe you don't feel like yourself anymore. You're tired, fatigued, stressed, more than you want to admit. I'm happy to admit it because it's the truth. I'm so glad Game Day Men's Health came into our lives, Bill, because they're meeting a need that both of us have, right?
Yeah, because you get that middle of the afternoon and you're just like, I am so tired. And you feel like, is the gravity different when I'm sitting here on the couch or the chair? At the end of the day, you feel exhausted. And you're a family man. You've got life at home after the office. And if you're feeling like Jeff and I, the idea of you got to rally. You don't want to give your family, your wife, your significant other, the worst part of the day, the one where you're out of energy and maybe even a little grouchy. We heard stories. I was hanging out in the lobby the other day when I was there at Game Day Men's Health. A guy telling me he didn't want to go inside the house at the end of the day because he was on edge. He was just so tired and exhausted, and he knew he was going to have to give the attention to the kids right away, and he felt awful as a father and a husband because he didn't want to go home. Now, he said after visiting Game Day Men's Health, they have fixed the testosterone, and he feels fantastic. His wife agrees. Know what I mean? Now, here's the thing. We both were feeling that kind of way, and we were just feeling run down at the end of the day. So Game Day Men's Health has helped us discover that spark again, but there's a difference. It is not the Walmart of men's health centers. They're not running you through this long checkout line, and it's not based on volume. It's individual franchisees. They are small operations, and it's about personalized conversations with you and personalized attention on your health. The coolest thing about Game Day Men's Health is it is the small business owner model, but they have national reach. When you're out traveling, and let's say maybe you have testosterone shots or some of your medication, it's busy. You leave it at home, they can contact a local Game Day Men's Health franchise, and you can get taken care of wherever you are. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the small business owner experience and all of that personal attention while also getting national reach and coverage. Game Day Men's Health. You've got to reach out to them today. They are in Aurora, Cherry Creek, Parker, Inglewood, and Thornton. And Jeff, they had a motto that was there on the wall that just resonated with both you and I.
Helping guys be better dads, better husbands, better men. Why not go get your free testosterone test today at Game Day Men's Health in Aurora, Cherry Creek, Parker, Inglewood, and Thornton, online at GameDayMen'sHealth.com, GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Billy and I both working with them and really enjoying it. All right, we'll continue with Mike Boyle. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver.
And now on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs. All across the Front Range, it's the Jeff and Bill Show.
710 KNUS in Denver.
And now waking up with our new listeners on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show. And what's been fun about the Jeff and Bill Show growing down into Colorado Springs, now syndicated down there, is we've gotten a chance to promote and cross-promote with a number of other shows that do the same thing, broadcast up here as well as down there. One of those is the Mike Boyle Restaurant Show, heard on 710 KNUS here in Denver on Saturdays, 3 to 5, Sundays, 10 to noon, and then down in Colorado Springs, 1460, The Answer, FM 101.1, Saturdays 10 to 1, Sundays 10 to noon. Mike, I was going to ask you about the challenges restaurants are facing in Colorado. Are they booming? Are there new restaurants popping up all over the place?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's without giving you an evasive answer, there's market forces at work. And, it's going to be a little bit more. I was talking with a restaurateur on the way in this morning. It's not just good food and good service. That's a cliche. And it's not just location, location, location. There's just so many external challenges now, Jeff, in the restaurant industry with food cost and with labor cost. And you hear about it all the time. So consequently, you're going to have to learn to be a little bit better operator. You're going to have to learn to give your public what they want. And that might be hours. That might be, and things have become so divisive. I was talking with a friend of the station's, a former Aurora councilwoman. You know what? She has a sports bar in Aurora. They were soaring the Super Bowl. All right, it's America's game, right? When it came to halftime, she said, would you like to watch Turning Point or Bad Bunny? The overwhelming vote was for Turning Point. So she said, I'll put Turning Point on over here, and I'll put Bad Bunny over here. Well, you and I would think that that's a nice way to resolve it. Yep. The people that didn't want to watch either one. So unfortunately, here you are just trying to operate a sports bar, putting out good burgers and buffalo wings, and all of a sudden you come into the middle of this very contentious situation. So there's just a lot of challenges in the restaurant industry now. You know, I remember when I started doing my meal deals, we would do a $5 lunch. That's what lunch was in 1995. For $1.30, the call letters of the station, it covered the food costs. Those days are gone. I remember when the first restaurant called and said, I'm going to have to charge $10 for hamburgers. You know what? Try to find a $10 hamburger now that's not at a fast food restaurant. So, you know, yes, the challenges are there. And so I don't think that social media, I think that, you know, 30 years ago when I was on television, we would say, your opinion isn't news. Well, we're now 30 years later with social media, and people think their opinion is news about everything. So I don't think that if the television is set on Turning Point or Bad Bunny is a reason for you to go and post a 1-star review. There's.
By the way, he's talking about Danielle Jurinsky.
There's the social pressure.
Who faced this in her tweets, now gotten, I think, over 4 million views. It's gone nationally viral, talking about this division that took place.
Yeah, and so I think that the challenges are real. What I would say is get yourself as a customer, as a consumer, get yourself in the mood to go out. Don't go Saturday at 6 o'clock to a packed restaurant, be starving, and then get hangry because you're not going to get seated for 45 minutes to an hour. That's all.
Great advice. And
try to be a good customer.
This is what he covers on his show, the Mike Boyle Restaurant Show, MikeBoyle.com, MikeBoyle.com. Really, in addition to a great radio program, he's got all these events. He's built a community. When Mike goes out to do an event, all these people show up. They're all friends. They have a great time. A lot of them sometimes travel with you as well. So you've built a great community around you. Go to the Mike Boyle Restaurant Show at MikeBoyle.com, MikeBoyle.com. We appreciate your time today, Mike. Thank you.
I think that you guys are going to be an absolutely wonderful addition, Bill and Jeff, to the Colorado Springs market, because you're going to be covering issues that just don't. I love our national programming. Yeah. But that's Iran and Epstein and so forth. You're going to be covering stuff that makes a difference in the Denver, Colorado Springs market.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
And the other thing we're going to give our friends up in Colorado Springs with the answer is a more ready voice to talk to us. Because how many times do you get a chance to talk to those national guys? Yeah, you listen to them, but it's more of sitting in that lecture hall where they're talking at you. If you've been paying attention here for Jeff and I, it's a conversation with you. And sometimes can get a little, intense. But it's fun. It's always fun.
Lots to cover. We will always be doing that on this show. Mike, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks
Go to
MikeBoyle.com,
MikeBoyle.com. Let's talk briefly about Colorado Christian University. Faith, family, freedom, these values define the American tradition and are increasingly under attack. The Centennial Institute at Colorado Christian University is dedicated to remaining a committed voice for Christian conservative principles. Through their public events, publications, and student initiatives, they are committed to delivering world-class programming that empowers citizens of all ages to stand boldly for conservative values and engage with the pressing issues of the day with grace and truth. The need to promote principled conservatism and train the next generation of conservative leaders to speak with moral clarity and conviction is more urgent than ever. Join the Centennial Institute at Colorado Christian University in their work to recommit the culture to faith, family, freedom, and future. Learn more at centennial.ccu.edu. That's centennial.ccu.edu. All right, Billy, you got restaurant plans for Valentine's Day? Have you figured that out?
My wife and I have decided that we're going to take a pass on this one. There's a variety of reasons for that one, but I gotta have the happy dance.
The Saturday, but you're gonna make something for her, aren't
Oh yeah,
you? You're
absolutely.
Gonna cook something up good.
Oh yeah. I've got something inside the hopper that's going to be, because I will spend several hours cooking. I have no problem with that one. But no, we're not doing the restaurant thing. We're going to say that for another day. But it was an agreement between my wife and I.
We'll be at the Melting Pot, my wife's favorite,
Hey, that's
and
fantastic.
I get that reservation mid-December. I
Yeah.
get that reservation mid-December.
Oh, and
You got
just
to.
for real about this, it was on his day timer on his phone, and we were in the middle of a commercial break the morning that the reservations opened up, and he made the call.
That is right.
Smart man.
Ladies, I will translate Bill Thorpe speak for you. I'm going to cook the meal, or it's going to be so crowded on Saturday, let's go out next week. That is Bill Thorpe speak for I
Right
forgot
here.
to make a reservation.
You're listening